A 63-year-old man walked into a coffee shop last month, and within seconds, 3 women in their 40s turned to look at him. Not because he was famous, not because he was loud, but because of something specific about the way he moved, stood, and existed in that space. And what I'm about to share with you are the exact body parts that triggered that instant, almost involuntary attention. These are the physical features women scan for in milliseconds. Whether they realize it or not, attraction after 60 operates very differently than most men have been taught. And what's fascinating is that many of the traits women become deeply drawn to later in life are not the flashy traits men spent decades worrying about. It's not six-pack abs, it's not expensive clothes, it's not trying to look 35 again. Mature attraction is quieter than that, but far more powerful. Renowned relationship therapist Esther Perel has spent decades studying desire and emotional connection, and one of the most important truths her work reveals is this: women often become more psychologically attuned as they mature. They stop looking for surface perfection and start noticing emotional signals hidden inside physical behavior. And before we go deeper, I want you to really pay attention to this because I know many men watching this secretly feel invisible. Maybe you've convinced yourself your best years are behind you. Maybe you walk into rooms assuming women no longer notice you. But what if I told you that women are still noticing, just differently? If this topic resonates with you, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below with your age and where you're watching from. I genuinely read the comments because these conversations matter, and chances are there are thousands of men silently feeling the exact same thing you feel right now. You see, attraction after 60 is not about pretending to be younger, it's about becoming more grounded in who you are, and that changes everything. I'm Maggie, host of Queen of Psychology YouTube channel, and today we're going to break down the 5 body parts women instantly notice on men over 60, the hidden psychological signals behind them, and why these details trigger attraction far more powerfully than most men realize. Most men assume aging automatically reduces attraction, but psychology says something very different. Studies published in relationship research journals have repeatedly shown that women over 35 begin prioritizing what researchers call character indicators. These are physical cues that subconsciously communicate emotional stability, competence, confidence, warmth, and vitality. In other words, women begin reading the body less like decoration and more like evidence. That's why 2 men of the exact same age can walk into a room and create completely different reactions. One disappears into the background. The other becomes magnetic without even trying too hard, and usually the difference has almost nothing to do with raw looks. Let me tell you something interesting. A woman once described meeting a 67-year-old man at a charity event. She said he wasn't traditionally handsome. He was average height, slightly gray, and dressed very simply. But within minutes, she couldn't stop noticing him. Later, when she tried explaining why, she struggled to describe it. She just kept saying he felt solid, present, calm. That's important because attraction is often emotional before it becomes physical. Women feel a man before they fully analyze him. And the first place that feeling often begins is the hands. Hands reveal more psychology than most men understand. Women notice hands constantly because hands communicate behavior. The way a man uses his hands unconsciously reveals how he moves through life. Are his movements controlled or chaotic? Gentle or aggressive? Present or distracted? One woman in her 50s described shaking hands with a man during a networking event and instantly feeling drawn to him. Not because his hands were perfect, but because they felt calm, warm, grounded. He maintained eye contact, didn't squeeze too hard, and moved with ease rather than nervousness. She said it immediately made her feel emotionally safe around him, and that word safe is incredibly important in female psychology. Women are biologically wired to read subtle signals of emotional regulation. Nervous fidgeting, frantic gestures, restless tapping. These behaviors subconsciously communicate anxiety or instability, but slow, intentional hand movements communicate confidence and emotional control. This is why grooming matters too. Clean nails, moisturized skin, hands that look cared for rather than neglected. It sounds simple, but many men underestimate how deeply women associate self-care with emotional maturity. A man who takes care of small details often signals that he'll pay attention to larger emotional details too. And here's something fascinating. Women are not necessarily attracted to soft hands. In fact, many women are drawn to hands that show evidence of real life. Slight roughness, strength, signs that these hands have built things, repaired things, carried responsibility. It communicates capability. There's a reason phrases like "good with his hands" carry emotional weight far beyond physical labor. Now, the second body part surprises almost every man when they hear it: forearms. Yes, forearms. And once you understand why, you'll never unsee it again. Forearms are incredibly psychologically powerful because they exist in a space between visible and hidden. They appear naturally during everyday moments, rolling up sleeves, reaching across a table, fixing something, carrying groceries. And these subtle exposures create what psychologists sometimes call micro moments of attraction. One woman laughed while describing a contractor who came to repair her kitchen cabinets. She said she barely noticed him at first. But the moment he rolled up his sleeves and started working confidently, something changed. His forearms looked capable, steady, experienced. Suddenly, he became attractive to her in a way she couldn't logically explain. That's because women often associate forearms with competence and control. They subconsciously symbolize strength that is useful rather than performative. And for men over 60, this can actually become more attractive with age. Why? Because maturity often adds texture to a man's appearance. Younger men may have gym-built muscles, but older men often develop what women perceive as lived-in strength. The kind of strength that comes from decades of doing real things in the real world. Now let's move into something even more powerful: the eyes. Not eye color, not perfect symmetry, presence. This is where attraction becomes deeply emotional. Women pay extraordinary attention to how a man looks at them because the eyes reveal attention quality. Does he seem distracted? Is he mentally somewhere else? Is he listening only to respond? Or does he genuinely see the person in front of him? A woman once described her partner this way: "When I talked to him, I felt like I was the only person in the room." That feeling came entirely from his eye behavior. And here's what many men don't realize. Eye contact after 60 often becomes more attractive, not less attractive, when it carries emotional depth. The small lines around the eyes, the softness, the warmth. These things can actually increase perceptions of trustworthiness and sincerity. Women are constantly reading emotional availability through the eyes. Do they light up when he talks about something meaningful? Do they soften when someone shares vulnerability? Do they seem alive? Because one of the most attractive qualities in mature masculinity is emotional presence. And unfortunately, many men slowly disconnect from this over time. Life hardens them, stress numbs them, disappointment teaches them to emotionally withdraw. Their eyes stop expressing curiosity, stop expressing warmth. But women notice immediately when a man still feels emotionally awake. Here's a practical exercise I want men watching this to try. During your next conversation, practice listening without planning your response. Just focus completely on the other person for 60 seconds. Watch what happens. Most people are so starved for genuine attention that this alone can transform how they experience you. Now we need to talk about the body part that silently changes everything: the shoulders and posture. This may honestly be one of the biggest hidden attraction factors for men over 60, because posture communicates life energy before a man even speaks. Two men can have identical faces, identical clothing, even identical ages, but posture changes the entire emotional impression. One walks with collapsed shoulders, downward gaze, hesitant movement. The other walks upright, relaxed, open, grounded. The second man instantly appears more alive, and women feel this immediately. Why? Because the nervous system communicates through the body. A collapsed posture subconsciously signals defeat or withdrawal. Open posture signals engagement and vitality. Researchers studying body language consistently find that expansive posture increases perceived confidence, attractiveness, and leadership qualities. One woman described attending a class reunion where two former classmates arrived minutes apart. Both were 65. One looked exhausted by life before he even spoke. The other carried himself with calm confidence, shoulders back, measured movements, relaxed breathing. She admitted she was shocked by how dramatically different their energy felt despite being the same age. And here's the important part: posture is trainable. This isn't genetics. Simple strength exercises, stretching, walking, and awareness can radically transform how a man appears within weeks. Even something as small as lifting the chest slightly and relaxing the shoulders can change how people respond to you socially. Because confidence is often communicated physically before it's ever communicated verbally. And finally, we arrive at the last body part: the mouth. Because confidence is often communicated physically before it's ever communicated verbally. And finally, we arrive at the last body part: the mouth. A genuine smile creates warmth and trust almost instantly, but forced smiles feel emotionally disconnected. Women are remarkably skilled at detecting the difference. One woman described falling for a man because of the way he smiled during conversation. She said his smile arrived slowly, naturally, almost like his emotions genuinely caught up to the moment instead of performing for attention. That authenticity made her trust him. And trust is deeply connected to attraction for emotionally mature women. But there's another layer here too: speech patterns. Men who speak calmly, clearly, and deliberately often appear more emotionally grounded. Rushed speech, constant interruptions, or mumbling can subconsciously create tension instead of connection. This is why slowing down matters. Older men who embrace stillness instead of fighting aging often become surprisingly magnetic. They stop trying to impress everyone. They stop overperforming masculinity. And ironically, that relaxed confidence becomes incredibly attractive. Now here's the deeper truth connecting all 5 body parts together: hands, forearms, eyes, shoulders, mouth. What do they all have in common? They reveal how a man engages with life itself. His hands reveal whether he creates or withdraws. His forearms reveal whether he remains physically involved in the world. His eyes reveal whether he's emotionally present. His posture reveals whether he still carries purpose. His mouth reveals whether he communicates warmth or emotional distance. Women are not just scanning appearances, they are scanning energy. They are unconsciously asking, does this man still feel alive? And this is why some men become more attractive at 60 than they ever were at 30. Because true mature attraction is not built on youthful perfection. It's built on grounded masculine presence. A man who remains curious, engaged, emotionally available, comfortable in his own skin. That energy becomes visible through the body, whether he realizes it or not. And the men who understand this immediately separate themselves from the crowd because most men never learn that attraction evolves. They keep chasing youth instead of developing presence. But presence is what women remember. Presence is what women feel. And presence is what creates emotional gravity. Now, everything we discussed today explains what women notice visually, but attraction becomes even more powerful once physical connection enters the equation. And that's exactly why you need to watch the video appearing on your screen right now. How to Hug Her in a Way That Triggers Desire, She Female Psychology. Because knowing what women see is only half the story. The real magic begins when you understand what she feels the moment you touch her.